Eyes may be able to see, but without a heart, you cannot feel.
What's up, everybody? This is Josias Samuels, and you are tuning into episode 83 of the It Will Come Show. And today we're going to be talking about Warren Buffett and his talk for the annual general meeting for his company, Berkshire Hathaway, and kind of what that means and what came out of it. Then we're going to look at Reddit communities and how these type of communities actually provide solace for people who might be dealing with grief or death or any of those sort of things, especially during this time. And then we're also going to be talking about honor, because I had actually shared this question up on Twitter recently, and it was very interesting to see the responses. So with that, let's dive straight in. Okay, so breaking. Warren Buffett says he was wrong on investments in the airline industry. Buffett added that airlines have too many planes because people will likely not travel as much as they did in the next 3 to 4 years as they did before COVID-19. Now, this is taken from the annual meeting that they had, and I think this was the first time that Warren Buffett had done this annual meeting virtually. So that was very interesting to see. And what was even more interesting to see was his slides. And he's still very old school, was using, paper on his desk, like nothing fancy, but hey, he's worth a lot of money, and who cares, I think that's one thing I do admire about Warren Buffett, is that he's managed to keep things very simple, despite how wealthy he may be. And so let's have a look at this tweet. This is from Tim Rainer. When Warren buy and hold Buffett sells his shares in airlines, you know the future of the industry is not rosy. So this goes straight into the airline industry right now, right? I think you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that the travel industry is really going to take a hit. Even if people do start opening up their borders again and lifting travel bans, I think it's going to take quite some time before people get comfortable traveling again. I'm a traveler myself, and I definitely want to be getting out as soon as possible. But at the same time, I know there are many who probably would just opt not to go traveling because things are still very uncertain in different countries, right? Personally, I think there'll be a resurgence again of COVID-19 cases because, we still haven't even found like a cure for it. We still don't know much. I mean, we know more than we did before, but still don't know much. And they have to do all their clinical trials around the virus, etc. So, all right. So, if you don't know who Warren Buffett is as well, Warren Buffett is also known as the Oracle of Omaha. And the reason why he's known as the Oracle of Omaha, and let's just go here. So, Warren Edward Buffett is an American investor, business tycoon, and philanthropist who is the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He's considered one of the most successful investors in the world and has a net worth of $88.9 billion as of December 2019, making him the fourth wealthiest person in the world. And so I'm looking right here. All right. And you can see here, why is Warren Buffett known as the Oracle of Omaha? The Oracle of Omaha is the nickname for Warren Buffett, who is arguably one of the greatest investors of all time. The reason for this is because the investment community very closely follows his investment picks and comments on the market, and he lives and works in Omaha, Nebraska. Right? So, as I mentioned, he seems to be a very simple guy. He doesn't live lavishly. I think he still has the same car he's had for many decades, lives in the same home, and he's been with the same team and staff, which is very small for many decades as well. And because, he has been involved with the Great Depression period as well. In his talk just recently, right, he talks about how back during the 1920s, so 1929, a lot of people did not expect the Great Depression to hit, right? I think just before it did hit, the stock market had its highest year yet ever. And straight after that, it plummeted it went from $230 down to $40 or something like that. And it took about 20 years apparently until the stock market got to those same levels. So, it's going to be very interesting to see if the same thing happens here. at this point in time in 2020? And will it take as long as well, right? Will we go for another 20 years before things pick back up? So I think we're still, even though a lot has happened already in the last couple months, there's still a lot of uncertainty, as we know, but a lot of opportunity as well. And that's what Warren Buffett was talking about. So I'm not going to go through this entire article, but as always, I will include all of these articles in the show notes, so you can review if you want to. Okay, so here's another one from one of the twins, again, from the Winklevoss twins, who were notorious for fighting Mark Zuckerberg, right, for the idea of Facebook, right? So apparently it came from these two twins. While most CEOs are busy artificially inflating their company stock prices with stock buybacks, Elon Musk is willing to opine publicly that his company's stock price is too high. That's what makes him so real and captivating. He's playing on an entirely different game board. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is because I'm going to be talking about honor, right? And Elon Musk, for better or for worse, he's very open and honest about being himself, right? And a lot of people expect him to be a certain way because he's the CEO, and he just doesn't really listen to that. If you're not familiar, there was one video of him smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan show, and a lot of people were like gasp horror because he was doing that. But I mean, let's be real, many people have tried it, and I think that's what makes him a little bit more relatable to a lot of folks, because there's always this image of what a leader should be, and very few times do we actually accept people for who they are. Even though we would always want people to accept us as who we are, we put a lot of expectations on our leaders as well. And we should probably question, like, where do those expectations come from, right? Are they realistic? Are they not? But yes, you can see here, Elon Musk puts things like this, and just people go crazy, nuts over it, because he is a geek at heart. So Reddit communities. So I put this article up because it was kind of interesting. And if you've been watching my show, right, you know that I'm a big advocate for communities in general, the use of technology, and definitely freedom through self-discipline. So Reddit saved me after my dad died. Sometimes you find comfort in a place you least expect. So this whole article is actually just about how a guy went onto Reddit after his dad died, and to share his pain, and he's actually found a lot of solace and support from people in these Reddit communities. And a lot of these people on Reddit are anonymous. And if you haven't been to Reddit before, just go to reddit.com. It's about as notorious as Twitter as well. But this is what Reddit looks like. All right, it's just old school forums. Not too long ago, they actually upgraded the interface, which was about time. I'm glad that they finally did that. But it has been very interesting to see the evolution of Reddit. It is probably one of the largest. It's probably one of the largest online community platforms in the world, and for very good reason. So I'm just gonna quickly get rid of that. Yeah, awesome. For very good reason. And so yeah, I think when it comes to online communities or communities in general, you really have to look at why they are becoming so important now during this time. All right, if you look at COVID-19, I've definitely heard more and more people talk about the importance of community, right? And before, people would be like, do I need that? Do I need that for my business? But it's actually becoming a lifesaver for many businesses as well, right? Because during hard times, who do you go to? Where do you go? Some people don't have the benefit of having their own families or a strong support network. So the online world is all they have. So they go to places like Reddit in order to find that comfort, to find that support. And you could look at it as a sad thing, or you could look at it as a very reassuring thing, that despite all the nonsense that you might see online, right, from all the media, the news, fake news, there are still places on the internet, just like in the real world, where you can find supportive people, where you can get positive reinforcement and people who understand you, even if you don't know what their real identities are. So, this was definitely a really sad, interesting, and actually uplifting. So it starts off a little sad, but uplifting by the end of the article. So I'll share it in the show notes so you can have a look. Now to honor. So the reason why I brought honor up is because We're working on some things in the background. So news about that will emerge over the next 6 months. But this particular question I put out to my Twitter audience, because this is this is more around, and excuse my throat, this is more around accountability, right? So if you've been watching, again, we have this productivity accelerator / accountability group called the Pack that we've been running for about 5 years now. And, a big part of the Pack is accountability. So we don't just look at individual productivity, but we actually look at social accountability and how we can use the group to actually help improve people's individual productivity. Because that often gets neglected, or people don't look at the importance of the context of accountability. Because it's all well and dandy to have things work out for yourself, but when you actually include others in your group and team, you have to figure out how to work together effectively. Accountability becomes a very important part in ensuring that there is actual productivity. And so here, are you someone who honors their word? Now, this is really interesting, right? My personal experience is that probably, all of us have work to do in this department in terms of staying true to your word. I know once upon a time I would probably answer this as depends, but now I would say I take honoring my word a lot more seriously. My mother used to always say, words are very powerful, and they can be, So with this, right, it's very interesting, at least from 55 people, they all perceive themselves to be folks who do honor their word. Now, it's going to be interesting if you actually ask friends of these same individuals if they would perceive their friends with the same sort of conviction, right? So, I put that out to you, right? And feel free to comment in the comment box below. But are you someone who honors their word, right? Because I guess the reason why I'm sharing this is because I feel, and I put this actually in the comments. Let's have a look here. There. I sometimes feel like we need a return to old virtues, especially during these times: truth, justice, honor. Can see how they would be useful to humanity as a whole, while also understanding that different cultures hold different values, right? So if we look, of course, like at America, freedom, liberty, are very strong values. But it always amazes me at how we can take some of these values to the extreme too, and we can definitely see within society how different outcomes occur depending on people's interpretations of these values, right? And it's even more interesting to see how it's playing out now, right? So from an honor standpoint, if we look at our leaders, would we consider them to be honorable, right? Do they tell the truth? Do they live an honorable life? And is that something that would appeal to you? What does that mean for others, right? It means holding yourself to a higher standard. It involves understanding that if you are leading, you need to be leading by example to others. But there's so much that comes with this. And so with honor, I think, at least with the Pack, right? The honor comes in people setting out a commitment and then, moving towards it. Well, we call it running, right? Running with the Pack, running towards it. And, if you hit your goals, you're someone that, is honoring their word, right? Now, of course, we can all learn things along the way. We can fail along the way. But what's important is that you get back up and you keep going, right? And so this is something that I guess very intrigues me a lot more these days. And I'll be exploring more of this, and you'll hear more about sort of our stealth project that has to do with this. So there was this quote I saw as well, which I found kind of cool. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. George Bernard Shaw, right? So the mistakes could be those perceived failures. But yeah, if you don't do anything at all, if you don't try, what's the point? And then finally, if you didn't know, today, May 4th, at least where I am at right now, it is related to Star Wars. May the 4th be with you. And give you... Sorry, I had to sneeze there. So today is May the 4th. And with May the 4th, if you're not familiar with Star Wars is a very well-known film. If you haven't seen it, how have you not? Where have you been living? Just May the 4th be with you. I hope you learned something today. And excuse the croakiness. Don't know what's going on. As always, remember, through patience and persistence, it will come.
The eyes may be able to see, but without a heart, you cannot.